next show starts, let's enjoy an intermission. You'll find our snack bar chock full of good things to eat and drink. Tasty, tempting hot dogs, thirst-quenching soft drinks, fresh, crunchy popcorn, a complete assortment of delicious candy, and a full line of cigarettes. You've plenty of time, so visit the snack bar now. A tasty treat will double your enjoyment of the show. For your convenience, we shall keep you informed of the remaining intermission time, 3 minutes before the next show starts. The show will start in 2 minutes.
Yes, time.
Okay, here we are, boys and girls. How about that? Everybody, I'm finally here. I had a little bit of technical difficulty on the way in. The computer went and stopped working for a moment, but now it's back, and we are here in the Magic Shop. This is the Tokyo Disneyland Magic Shop behind me. That's our background for tonight. And right now, I want to introduce to you, hang on one second while I shut that mess down. There we go. That's gone. All right. Now, I have to turn down the other, or turn off, I should say. There it goes. All right. Let me introduce to you our guest co-host this evening, Miss Jack Lejew. Hello, Jack.
Hello, sweetheart. How are you?
How are you, my darling?
I am fabulous.
Now, I know this is not your forte, but I know you love magic.
I do.
You are here basically for moral support for me because I love you so much, and because I have to tell you, if you did, I don't know if you noticed in the preview there, it said back by popular demand. People want to see you.
Let's see, who haven't I paid?
I don't know.
I pay?
So right now, let me tell you, I am excited about this guest coming up. I have not seen this man in a long time, and one of the finest performers I've ever had the privilege of knowing in magic. And I am so excited to have him as my first magician guest on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, all the way from Buffalo, New York, Harrison Carroll. Wow, Harrison, my God. Hang on a second. Let me unmute you. There you go. Have I got you?
How are you? I think the last time I saw you,
perfect.
it was either you did a show at the Keenan Center in Lockport or Fiddler on the Roof in Buffalo.
Well, you know what? It could have been. Yeah, it could have been either one of those. Back in long time ago.
Years ago. I haven't seen you in 40 years.
It's easily it's easily been that long, hasn't it?
I would think so. Yeah.
My goodness.
You guys are old. You guys are so old.
I'm old.
Harrison, I'm gonna mute your mic for just a second.
All right.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm gonna mute your mic for just a second and bring you back in, because we're having what we call the Godzilla effect, where you're talking, your mouth is moving, and then the voice comes out a couple seconds later. Let's see what happened. Hi, Harrison.
Hey,
you're
Joe.
back.
Is that better?
Yeah, we're still having that.
I wonder
Go
why.
on it. No, darn it. Hang on a second. I think I can do this. I've done it before. Have I got you now?
I here I am. I don't know how I'm sounding.
You're there. You're sounding great. The only thing is your voice comes in after you move your lips, which is mildly. It's
like a Japanese
tell you what,
movie.
Could you do this for me?
Sure. What?
Exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Could you do this for me? Could you remove yourself, go out, and come back in on the same link?
Yes.
Great.
I got.
Let's do that, and Jack
out.
and I will kibitz till you get back.
All right.
Now, Jack, can I hear you now?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
You're working fine. Okay, Harris will be
Actually,
back.
I want to let you know on my side, from my camera, he looked fine.
And he sounded fine too?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? It must be. Maybe it's on my end. Folks, don't leave. Harrison will be right back.
Yes.
I absolutely promise you.
Yes.
We've got some great. Oh, we got comments out the wazoo here. Looks good on our end. Everybody's doing fine on that end, except for me. So Harrison will be right. Here he comes. Here he
I
comes.
always knew it was you, Joe.
Okay, Harrison, you're back in the stream.
Any better?
Absolutely perfect now. But
Perfect.
everybody in the chat room was telling me, "Oh, he's fine on our end." So obviously, it was my computer. Harrison, how the heck are you?
Man, it's been a long time, as we were saying earlier.
It sure
40 years? Really?
Back in the-
40 years?
Thurston's days, right?
Hurston's Palace of Mystery.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I, not too long ago, I saw Bill Bradford at a convention here in Florida. Well, actually, a few years ago now. I saw him at a convention here in Florida. I have not seen him since. He's on my Facebook. It's always nice to see him when he's there.
I saw him in February.
Oh, did you? I came across something the other day. In fact, the day that you told me you would be on, which was great, and I found it. Now I can't find it. But you actually sold me my first Frady Cat Rabbit so many years ago.
Yeah, I decided I could not do kid shows.
Yeah, well, thank gosh you sold that to me, because I still use that thing to this day, buddy.
Hey, that's a collector's item, I would bet now.
It sure is. Actually, I kind of retired that one, and damned if I know where. Anyways, I put it up on a shelf, and I found another one that I'm using in the show. When I do shows, I'm retired too now, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
Enough was enough. Yeah, that's Jack going. Yeah, sure you are. But enough was enough. Harrison, fill us in. What have you been doing?
Well, I stopped working a number of years ago, but I spent my career in the trade show industry, primarily, Joe. And I got to work with some incredibly talented people. They constantly amazed me, not just with magic, but I mean actors, jugglers, magicians, and they were all extremely talented.
And that's literally what this show is about performers, actors, jugglers, magicians, you name it. We've got it. Everybody from the guy who sweeps the street out at the Magic Kingdom, because they're all part of the show, I wanted to touch on something here that I'm sure I do want to say this, because someone asked specifically if at one point you would tell the Vegas redhead story. David McGee asked that.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding. So we'll have to get to that.
I don't even know who's in here, so
I don't know if you can see.
I guess Dave is here.
I can tell you that David McGee is here. Doug Michael Lucas, who you don't know, who's a friend of mine. Michael Matson, who's a magician here in Orlando.
I know a lot of magicians in Orlando, actually.
Quite a few.
Yeah. Terry Ward, Steve Bedwell, Gio.
Gio, what a great guy. Paul Richards is here.
Who?
Paul Richards.
He is.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, we got to get together.
They're coming out of the woodwork for this. My goodness. But I wanted to ask, and a good segue from Paul Richards to this, did you not once upon a time have quite the relationship with a very famous magic shop owner?
Who, Jack or me?
No, but Gene Gordon.
Oh, yeah, we were kids.
Yeah.
Ray Mertz and I would take the bus downtown. We'd collect pop bottles, whatever we could to get money, and then we'd split the magic trick. He'd have it one week, I'd have it the next, because we didn't have any money. And so Gene, I knew when I was just a kid. Sure.
Yeah, I was just reading through Gene's book, Magical Legacy, which is something that I kind of cherish. And there you were. It was you and Rob Allen.
What? Yeah, Rob.
And Ray, God bless him, Ray
know.
Mertz. who sadly we've lost now. But
Yes, indeed.
what a talent! What a talent!
Yeah, it's too bad. Ray left us too soon. That's a fact.
Indeed. Mike Sieg has just joined us.
Hey, Mike. Oh, my goodness.
David, I'll tell you, the last I saw Gio, he was doing just fine. David McGee just asked about Gio.
Gio's always doing fine. He's just upbeat guy, creative, wonderful human being.
Isn't he, though?
Talented.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And a heck of a nice guy. You say we've got a lot of great guys down here. We do. We've got a lot of old timers, not unlike the people present in this room right now. We've got some great people. In fact, 2 weeks from now, we're going to have Beth Bergeron on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is going to be really awesome. Vic Trabucco. Wow. I haven't seen Vic in 10,000 years. He says, hi, Harrison.
Hey, Vic.
You can't see the feed for the chat, huh? Nuts.
No, I don't. No.
Oh, well, I'll keep
That's okay.
I'll keep you informed.
Joe, you got to get your own radio show because you'd be great.
Well,
I keep telling him that, Harrison.
Yeah,
I was just
you're right.
I was just reading here, Harrison. Someone said that Harrison could be a sports announcer. Great voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know about that, but when I was a kid, I used to do play-by-play with the radio stuff.
Awesome.
I mean, because I love sports.
Yeah,
but I don't know about the voice.
Now we've got David McGee just said inspired all the young guys, trade show workers.
I don't think so.
Well,
maybe Dave.
You know what, buddy? I'll tell you something. I am willing to bet you did. I have people in here now, I know for a fact, who are here because of the fact that you're a trade show guy.
Really?
Hey, look at that. There's Bill B right there. Alex Hargrave.
Hey, Bill.
He's saying, watch what lies you tell. He's going to catch you, Harrison.
Oh.
There you go. Now, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go with these guys here. David McGee asks you to tell why you took it to the next level.
Well, probably because I was hanging out with him. No, that's true.
Awesome. Now let's go back. A few years, and
sure.
let me sneak in here, and I'll show you somebody, and I'm sure you'll remember the guy who's in this photograph with you.
Carl.
That would be Carl Norman.
Yeah.
And that is at the fabulous Forks Hotel. And if I'm not mistaken, you are doing the floating rod in that picture, or maybe cigarette.
It's a cigarette. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I remember that real well.
My hair was not so gray at that point in time.
Yeah, and that snazzy looks like a velvet jacket too, doesn't it?
No, just a navy blue blazer, I think.
Yeah. Of course, in Buffalo, that wouldn't have made a difference. It was probably cold as hell when you had that picture.
It's cold as hell in July.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us a little bit about the Forks and I know the guys are going to want to hear about this and those wonderful people that that's not you at the Forks, that's you at a trade show.
Yeah.
I got one of you at the Forks right here. It's a pretty cool picture too.
With Harry.
Oh wow.
Yeah, with Harry Blackstone Jr.
Yeah.
And here's another one of you doing your thing at the Forks Hotel right there. You can always tell it's the Forks Hotel. Why? Because that really hideous
wood paneling.
Which probably survived the fire back in the day. There's a whole gang of people there.
Yeah.
God, there's some. Wow.
They're all gone except for Bill, Okel, and myself.
You're right. You're right.
Jay Marlborough's gone. Eddie, Ray, Carl Weisinger's gone.
Carl Weisinger, wow, he was quite the guy. He was quite the performer. Tell us a little bit about those old days at the Forks, Harry.
Well, a lot of great magicians came out of there because of Eddie Fector, naturally. But, I mean, Brian Gillis, Alan Hayden the Gallows came out of there, Okel, Victor Trabucco. He's like velvet with his hands.
Oh, God, yes.
Not too many of us left. Gary Parra was there for Rob Allen, of course. Dingle came down from Toronto on occasion. Of course, Skinner.
Yeah.
I mean, just a lot of people went through the Forks.
Yeah,
and, did well for themselves. And, it was a venue where you could be bad to get good. Because you need a place to work. You can't sit in front of a mirror and recite your lines because the rhythms are off, the tempo's off. You need an audience. And it's funny because Bill Bradford years ago gave me a video that I was working at Thurston's. And I watched it much later. This is much years after Thurston's. And I watched it, and back then I thought, hey, I'm pretty good. I watched this video, and what I saw was a guy trying to be a performer as opposed to a guy performing. And I talked about this to one of my friends. And after doing trade shows a couple of years, you're just cranking them out, show after show after show after show. And you start to get tight, you get a little polish. And then looking at some of the trade show material versus that video that Bill had sent me, I go, wow, what a difference. Because you're working all the time. I got to tell you, as a young magician, young performer, I don't even call myself a magician really anymore. I call myself a performer and entertainer. And I hope I'm right when I say that. I truly do. Here's Gary Para right there. He just came in the door. Hey, Gary, we just mentioned you.
And Martin Hole something. Ho-L-C-L-E. Ho-E-L-C-L-E from Ring 12 is in the room now saying hi.
Hey.
I was so lucky as a young performer because I was able to come to the first off, y'all let me come in the door.
I didn't. I was like just one of the minions that followed Eddie around.
When I came, Eddie had just passed on actually, and Bob Nightinger had bought the place out. Bob.
Yeah, and, Bob.
Everybody was extremely welcoming at the Forks Hotel. And like you say, you have a place to be bad. And then I got to work and I got to hone what I did. And also at Thurston's Palace of Mystery, thank you, Bill Bradford, Alex Hargrave. My God, thank you for that. And thank you to people like you, frankly, who I got to watch and say, Jesus, I'll never be that freaking good, and I never was, never still am not, as far as that goes. Now, I've got David McGee asking me to ask Harrison, what made, I'm afraid to ask this, what made him laugh so hard in Vegas at Boyson's? He literally, are you ready for this, folks? He literally threw up at the table. Okay, you got to tell about this, buddy.
Well, I think that was McGee's goal, to make me laugh so hard I couldn't breathe. But yeah, he does. That guy can make you laugh like nobody I've ever met. Well, and it did happen. I don't know if it was Jerry Newton or Gio. Dave could tell you that was in the restaurant at the time that I went hauling for the men's room. But I forget what he did to make me laugh because he's done so many things that made me laugh. But yeah, that's a true story.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. Let's that's interesting. Let's go back. I want to go back up here to what he asked before, because it sounded absolutely fascinating. Where the heck is it?
That story?
Yeah. Well,
here's about a red head or something.
Oh, we were out to dinner, and I can't remember all the details now, but Dave was out to dinner with my clients and I in Vegas at the Bellagio, and she was like the boss, and we did something happened at the table, and it was just hilarious, but uncomfortable because she was the boss.
Oh, she's the boss.
Dave, you never know what's going to happen. You never know. You never know what's going to happen.
We've got here? What about the Ken Newman assistant story? While on the dock of the San Jose Convention Center.
Well, that's Dave's story to tell. That's not mine. That's Dave's story to tell.
Paul Richards is saying, Joe, you should be afraid to ask any questions posted by David. We change your show rating to NC-17. Oh, I should certainly hope so. We count on such things, Paul. You wouldn't believe the kind of stuff we've had in here already.
But, you were talking about the Forks, and you mentioned how it was a great proving ground, and it really was.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, when Eddie died, Okel and I left and went, we went to the Holiday Inn downtown Buffalo.
Yes, you did.
And then Bill Bradford called and says, why don't you come over here? We did. That was like 1980. And wow, what a place Thurston's was compared to the Forks.
Oh, my God.
Different dynamic. But
Indeed.
Bill had, he had those beautiful chandeliers over the bar and the jazz when you walked in until it got crowded. And, he really made the Magician, gave them an opportunity to be the best they could be. They had the close-up table in the corner and the stage. And he always gave you a great introduction. He just elevated the whole performance feel as opposed, the Forks was kind of an old bar, right?
Yes.
Quite a difference. And each of them lended a special growth food for the magicians that were working in those places.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember, Bill had the big board with, you put your picture in it, and, when you were working.
Oh, yeah, it was almost like you were working at the castle, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It really was.
It was just wonderful.
And what about those amazing posters, the collectible posters that Bill had? That Vanishing Whippet poster, that huge one. It was a beautiful, beautiful place. And Bill even worked it so he had a little backstage area. It was a pretty nice situation.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And the thing is, at the time, you don't realize how precious those moments are until they're gone, and you look back at them. Like with Eddie, we always knew Eddie was great. Eddie Fector, I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but it was only after he passed away, and you look back and say, wow, how lucky was I to be part of that? And the same with Thurston. It's just to be lucky enough to be able to go there.
Absolutely. And, I got to tell you, wow. Yeah, that's a fact. I actually, when Carl Norman passed on, Carl and I had a little bad blood at one point, and we didn't talk hardly at all. But I have to tell you, when he went, I was busted up. He was a mentor, and he meant a lot to me. And and like you say, you don't realize what you got till you don't have it no more.
Yeah, right. It was weird. I was at a 4F convention, and Carl was there, and he was in his 90s. And I said, I don't really have a picture with Carl. And I says, Carl, let's take a picture. And I'm not a picture guy.
Yeah.
And I always wish I took more pictures now that I'm old. But I took this picture with Carl, and the following year he passed away. So I was so glad, that I was able to do that.
Yeah, he was an amazing guy. He was amazing. That guy forgot more than we'll ever know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He knew a lot.
And it was just quite the honor to be even accepted by him as a friend. As it was, I remember. Do you remember the PMA?
Sure, Rob. Yeah, Rob and I started that, actually.
Yep, and Weisinger and Okel,
Yeah.
Bill Okel. Wow.
But we were trying to get magicians who did this for a living to get insurance, like medical insurance cheaper, because if you didn't have an employer, medical insurance was very expensive. But if you were in a group, you could get these group policy and also liability insurance.
Yes, absolutely.
Then the SAM and IBM came out with liability insurance.
And thank God they did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Thank God.
I used to use it as a selling tool more than a need to be insured. But, it's like when you're going up against somebody, it's like, well, look, I have $1 million policy because I care about all of that.
Exactly. And it works. Believe it or not, having that policy works to your advantage as an actor as well. Believe it or not. Not that, again, I still got a policy. Why? I have no clue. I think this is the last year, quite frankly. Because, I know. Yeah, Jack keeps saying that. I have a great deal of difficulty stopping, Harry. Or Harrison, excuse
Oh,
me.
Harry. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody calls me Harry.
Yeah, I have a great deal of difficulty stopping. I've tried a number of times to just cold turkey. That's enough. I've had enough. I've done it. I'm done. And then they keep pulling me back in. So,
Charlie.
right now, this is my outlet. You know what I'm saying? I can do this I have a little studio in my backyard. I put up a tough shed.
Uh-huh.
And this back here, of course, is a green. You can't tell, but it's a green screen.
Yeah.
Which is really cool, and that is really the Tokyo Disneyland Magic Shop, by the way.
Wow.
So it's pretty awesome. Now I've got Vic Tribuco and David McGee again asking me to ask you a question. Let me ask you. I'm going to ask you Vic Tribuco's question because I feel a little safer.
You're right.
I don't recall Vic being a little crazy. So it says here, ask Harrison about mind reading in Vegas, getting coffee.
Oh yeah. I think I sent. I was writing for Vanish magazine, but he hasn't been putting my stories in lately, so I don't know if he put that story in or not. But I did send it in to him. So was it Vegas? I think it was New Orleans. Maybe it was Vegas. But I'm going for coffee in the morning, and there's a line of people. So I'm waiting, and there are two guys ahead of me, and my hands were going. So I started doing more mentalism because I didn't have the chops anymore to handle cards. So I was doing more mentalism and more mentalism. So these two guys are in front of me, and they're talking. And the one guy goes, "Oh, Roy wants me to go to Tucson. Screw him." They were talking about work. And the other guy goes, "Yeah, you better go if he'd watch it." And they're talking back and forth, and I'm overhearing it. So fine, I go in, I do the show. Toward the end of the day, I look out, and there's these two guys that were in the coffee shop. So I do a book test, and the guy comes up to me. He's going, well, first he's challenging me. He was this kind of, which is rare in the trade show business, but it does happen at times. So he's challenging me. Let me pick a page. Let me take this book. So he goes, "What's the trick?" I go, "There's no trick. I don't know what to tell you." And he's going on, and he shows over, and he comes back. "What's the trick?" And I says, "I don't know what you're talking." He goes, "There's no way anybody can read minds." Uh-oh. And I said, "Yeah, I agree with you. It's just a question of what's in the ether." But he goes, "Tell me what I'm thinking." I go, I can't tell you what you're thinking, but I could tell you this. Somebody wants you to go to the Southwest. Now I'm bringing back this conversation from this morning.
Uh-huh.
And I know you don't want to go, but something's telling me you should go. The guy's face just turned to, he was scared in his face after that. And it's one of those moments that, as a magician, when all the stars align, it was one of those moments. And I saw his face, and I felt so good. And I knew if I stayed there, he might try to go to another step. So I says, "Look, I hope you enjoyed the show. I've got to go. Have a great day." And I left the booth. I took off down the aisle so that I wanted to leave him with that.
And boys and girls, the lesson is, he's just giving you a very valuable lesson. Quit while you're ahead.
Yeah, you definitely, because, you can't top that. So anything else you do is going to be beneath that. So I saw the moment and the opportunity, and I got out of there. But it was such a wonderful feeling to just to take that guy 180 degrees.
You ain't kidding. Jack and I we didn't intentionally do an illusion show, but we did.
Yes, we
were
did.
working at a place called Titanic The Experience, and they wanted a ghost show. They wanted Ghost of Titanic. Well, being a magician and being a jerk, I decided that we should take it to another level, and we freaked those people out. Not by doing any magic, not by doing any magic effects, but by words and making them think they saw things they really didn't.
Uh-huh.
And we learned that quit while you're ahead thing real fast right there.
Oh, we sure did. There were times that, and moving on to the next room.
Yep. And so, folks, that's something you really should. If you take nothing else away from this, take that.
Words are powerful.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
they are.
And sometimes far better than anything you could do with your hands or whatever.
Now, you'll remember this guy, I think, Frederick North.
Oh, God, yes. Oh,
he passed away, but Frederick, he did card reading and mentalism, and he chose his words so precisely that when he delivered something, every single word meant something.
You bet.
And he was really good at it, and it's a shame that he never really made it to that next level.
It truly is. I was friends with his kids. I've known Frederick. I knew Frederick for many years before he came into the magic scene down at Thurston's. And with that guy, he was something. He was. I treasure the
simple little things and make them miracles.
Very subtle things too. Brilliant.
I could still remember he did something, and he used to do this at Thurston's as well, but he did it all the time, where he talk about, imagine you have a lemon, and you take that knife, and as you cut through the rind, and he's talking, and the juice is coming out, you can taste the sour, and you're sitting there salivating.
Yes. Yes. This guy was a genius, Jack. He really was.
Sounds amazing.
Never did. But I think he read everything there was to read about doing what he did.
Yeah, he did. And I mean, when it came to using the language, he was really superb at it.
I have got to ask you something, Harrison, because because I cannot resist this. David McGee again, get ready. He says it's clean, so I hope it's not. He says, ask Harrison about the night in Wayne Newton's dressing room and the miniature donkey.
Oh, my God.
Dave, you're driving me crazy here.
Okay, now.
Dave, come on.
Was this a good story or is this a bad story?
Anything Dave puts up is going to be questionable for the public.
I see. Because now he's asking, what does the basement of the Venetian look like, Harrison, where the jail is for the Venetian?
That's another story. There's merit to everything he says, but I don't think they should be made public.
Okay, fair enough. Can I ask who is the most out there trade show magician you ever met?
Joe Bauer.
Okay, fair enough. What made him out there? I'm just curious.
He was his own man, danced to his own drum, did his own thing. Arguably the best trade show magician that's been out there.
Is that right?
Other magicians, some of them didn't care for his style, but I always thought he's doing what he's selling. And he's doing it very well. He made more money than any of us. And he was a hell of a strong performer. He really was.
That's awesome. I tried my hand at that once, and I sucked. I don't mind admitting it. That was, for me, was way too much for me.
Well, it takes a while to get the hang of it. When I first started, it's like, hey, you want to see a trick? No, that's the wrong path. It's like, hey, where'd you get that bag? Hey. And now you start talking to them and say, hey, I got something really weird I'd like you to see. You don't say tricks or magic.
Yeah.
You get a couple people, build. But it takes a while to learn the dynamic of how to get those people and how to get them to stop and how to engage them, first of all.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to see a card trick. They're walking by. Very few. So there's got to be another way to get them to stop.
Absolutely. And I had no clue.
Nor did I when I started.
And I was so mortified by the fact that I could. They loved me. The client loved me. Okay, they were very happy with me, but I wasn't.
Yeah, the client didn't know better.
What I gave them was subpar. Of course, they would know what they like. If they were happy when I should have shut my mouth and just.
Yes, but as a performer, you know what you expect of yourself.
Exactly.
And I mean, there were times where I didn't feel I delivered and the client loved it, but I knew that it wasn't to the level that I wanted to bring.
And I think that's true. I think that's true of every type of performer there is. Actors, magicians, jugglers, you name it.
Yep.
Am I right, Jack?
Definitely.
Yeah. We all look at what we've done and go, "Oh Jesus, what the hell was I thinking?"
But when I started, I was out of my league, in a sense, and I guess I was lucky because that commitment, that focus on how do I do this, how do I get better, how do I do this right, and eventually you find it, you figure it out.
Mhm.
But it's it was tough at the beginning, and the client didn't know any better. But I knew better.
And that's the issue, because they don't.
They don't.
No.
Let's get a magician. He'll do some tricks, and people will stop and watch. Then we'll sell them stuff. That's their shtick.
I was lucky, Eddie, because I was always nervous that I was going to lose the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, working maybe a year or so, and I'm right across from Eddie Tulloch, who was like the granddaddy of trade shows.
Oh God, I can remember seeing him. Yeah.
And he goes, "Don't run if nobody's chasing you."
Hmm.
So when people like Eddie would say that to me, I would think about this for weeks. For weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lucky, that somebody was kind enough. And I was always a fast worker. I'm a fast talker. I'm an energetic guy. And sometimes that's to my detriment because you got to wait for the audience to catch up. Otherwise, you're going to scare them away.
Yeah.
So
these are valuable words, folks. They are valuable words. Honestly, I'm learning right now. I just want you to know. And I've done this a little while. That's the thing. I got to tell you, David has said something very nice, and I've got to read this to you. In fact, you know what? I'll let you see it because I can do that. I realized I can do that. It says here, I tease a lot, Joe, but honestly, honestly to God, Harrison was one of the greatest trade show guys in our industry, and we all owe him a lot. Seriously. And I can certainly understand that. Now, I feel very safe in asking something that Paul Richards is asking me to ask you. It says here, ask Harrison about flying to NYC to land one of your first clients.
That they did publish, I think. Paul did. Was that in Vanish? I don't remember. But so I'm young, just trying to get some business. And there was a company called Giltspur Exhibits who were huge at the time.
I know that.
They were huge.
Yeah.
And this woman really liked me. And she says, I have a client in New York, Star Micronics. It was a printer company. This is 83, 82. And they want to meet with you. I go, great. Comdex. At the time, Comdex was the biggest show in North America. 100,000 people at the time. And I go, great. I make the appointment. I get on the airplane, get in the cab. I'm coming down Lexington Avenue in New York. It's now the MetLife building. It was the Pan American building, just sticking up at the end of the street.
It was only a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah. But I'm looking at this and I'm gulping. Wow. I'm this kid from Buffalo. In over my head. This is the Big Apple. I get on the elevator. I go up like 50 floors. I walk in. There's a big lobby. I'm sitting there looking over Manhattan. I'm going, oh boy, don't blow this. Don't blow this. And I get in and I totally choke. My hands are shaking. My voice is cracking. I forgot everything I was supposed to do.
Been there.
And I didn't get the job. They says, oh, we'll be in touch. Now, I'm sitting on the plane. And I knew I didn't get it. I knew I blew it. And I spent $400 on a plane ticket and the taxis. I said, I'm never going to let anybody intimidate me like that again. Ever. Because where am I now? even if I'm in the same place now, it's not going to be because I was intimidated.
Mhm.
And then so I didn't get it, but I learned a lot from that. So I'm up in Toronto and I'm pitching this company, and it's the same thing. 6 people in a boardroom, sleeves rolled up, yellow pads, ties, they're working. And so we're all said and done. And I says, okay, why don't we lock this up? And the guy says, well, for the money you're asking, I'm sure you can understand. We want to think about it. I says, sure. Tell you what, I'll go out in the lobby. You guys think. When you're done thinking, come and get me. Take your time. Take as long as you want. But I wasn't leaving there without booking the show. That was my mentality. Mm-hmm. So I go out in the lobby. 2 minutes later, the guy comes out and he goes, that's how I want my salesman to be. And I learned something there. That you got to believe in what you're selling to the point where you're going to make them believe it.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So,
so basically what we can say there is that $400 you spent to go to New York was the best damn $400 you ever spent in your life.
It was. And then you run into another thing. When you're new, people are always beating you up on the price.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you want the business and you're willing to work for less money to have it. But you reach a point when you get busy that, no, I'm not cutting the price.
Yeah.
I go down. A guy saw me working, and he said, "Big company, Citgo Petroleum," and he goes, would you come down to Tulsa, meet my boss? We'd like to use you for." And if Dave's here, Dave remembers when I worked for Citgo. So meet my boss. So I go down. Now back then we didn't have computers, so everything was in packets. Right. Everything's, get 4 color. It's got to look good. You got all these brochures. So I go down, I give him the packet, and he's looking through it. And he goes, so how much is this going to cost us? I did my little thing for him. And I said, well, there's a rate sheet right there. It's on the rate sheet. And he says, anybody could put anything on a piece of paper. What's our rate?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm comparing this attitude that I'm going to tell you now to that time in New York.
Right.
So I look at the guy. I have my briefcase. I close it up. And I go, I owe you an apology. I thought Citgo was the kind of company that recognized value when they saw it. My mistake. I was ready and willing to walk out of there without the order. Because now I had work. I'm not coming from hunger.
Sure.
So I stand up. He goes, no, sit down. I just want to be sure, that we're on the same page. I go, fine, let's lock it up now.
That's awesome.
My point is, the only way to really get to those points is to go through the bad times and learn by getting beat up. You got to get beat up an awful lot. Yeah. So then when you get to that point, it's kind of a nice place to be.
Yeah, I have to admit.
Politely. I don't have to say, I'm worth this or this is worth that. No, it's like, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I thought you guys recognized the value of this. But
that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's what's fascinating is that process of learning.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's really the fascinating dynamic to all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I have to echo what Paul Richards wrote here. Gold. Okay. Absolute gold. And then David McGee said the same thing. And then David also asked, I'm afraid to ask you what this guy says. Ask him his response when they wanted to pay him less for a hospitality suite. Oh, I can just imagine.
I'm not sure what he's talking about.
Yeah, well,
I don't remember what he's talking about.
Yeah, I can tell you, I've learned over the years that you're worth what you're worth.
Yeah.
You've done your job. You've got your chops. Either you take the job or you don't take the job or you walk away from it, just like you just said.
Yeah. You got to be willing to walk sometimes.
And again, that is what Paul said and what David also said. That is golden advice.
Mhm.
My goodness.
But we only learn that by taking those knocks on the head.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, because I can remember companies, especially in pharma. You know,
Mhm.
well, pharma never beat you up on rate, but as an example, they want to beat you up on rate, and then they invite you to dinner. And Dave will attest to this. They'll drop $3,000 on dinner, order $100 bottles of wine.
He just, believe it or not, he did just kind of say that. A tray of shrimp. People like shrimp. Is that
Mhm.
familiar?
But the point being,
Yeah.
they're beating me up for a few dollars, and then they go out and they drop that on dinner like it's nothing.
Thank you. And Tom Gagnon.
Hey, is Tom here?
Jeez, awesome. It's exciting for me. Ask Harrison to tell the story about performing for, I want to know about this, about performing for Ali.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, that's I was in Atlanta, and I come out. First of all, I'm a huge Ali fan. Back when I was 12 years old, 1960, he had won the Olympics. I was a boxing fan. I had his album. I played it till the grooves wore out. Followed his whole career. I'm coming out of the Hyatt in Atlanta, and Ali's standing there with these 5 or 6 guys around him. Now, Dave will attest, you run into famous people all the time, and I'm not one to intrude, ever. But it's Ali. I have to make an exception. So I go up, I says, excuse me, champ, I just got to tell you. I don't know how, but I've been since 1960 when you won the gold medal, I've been a fan. And he was very gracious, and he could still talk then. This is like 84.
Yeah.
So he could still talk. And he goes, oh, are you here on business or pleasure? I go, no, business. He goes, what kind of business you in? I says, I'm a magician. Well, his eyes, he loved magic.
He did.
His eyes. He goes, would you do some magic for me? I says, well, I can't. I got to go to work actually now. He goes, well, what are you doing tonight? And I said, sure. So he goes, talk to Jack. I could still remember Jack. I don't know his last name. And so he goes, all right, what's your room number? I'll call you. So I give him my room number. I get back from the show, and the little light on the phone is blinking, and I pick it up, and they says, come to the 10th floor at, I don't know, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, whatever. I get off the elevator. There's 2 guys sitting there.
It was awesome.
And who are you? What are you doing here? I says, I'm supposed to see Jack and Ali. And what's your name? I told them, okay, follow us. They must have had the whole floor. I don't know.
Sure.
Probably.
Then there's this huge suite. And Ali's there. There's probably about a dozen people in there. So I'm going to do a show for him. So I'm pretty comfortable. I mean, even though I have a lot of respect for Ali. So I do the show. I have him sign a card. And this is my regret. Garcia taught me if you're doing cards, give the deck to somebody in the audience. So Ali signs the card. I wish I had it now. It would be worth a fortune. But
Yes.
so anyway, during the show, I said to Ali, you know, when I was a kid, I boxed in the Golden Gloves. No, I said, when I was a kid, I used to box. And he said, well, what did you box? Oranges? So I realized he's such a dynamic figure. I cannot allow him to take over the room. And it's very easy for him to do. So I didn't want to ask him too much or make too many jokes. And when he said boxing oranges, it occurred to me I could lose this room real easy because he's such a dynamic figure. So anyway, I finished the show. And they were nice. It was nice. And Ali says to me, do you want to see a trick? I could do magic too.
Awesome.
I said, sure. So he does the worst silk out of a thumb tip that you would ever see in your life. It was awful. And he finished it, and I said, you box oranges too.
And he loved it, right?
He laughed, but it was just perfect for the moment.
Mhm.
But it was a special moment for me because it was out.
Sure. Yeah, we have something in common, Harrison, believe it or not. A long time ago, I decided that I would do whatever I could to figure out how to perform and what to do. Okay, that includes I was a performer as a character at Walt Disney World once upon a
Right.
time.
I knew that.
Suit on.
Bedford told me that.
You learn so much by not being able to talk, and which I'm sure most people wish I could do all the time. But I also did, believe it or not, the Jungle Cruise at Walt Disney World. This was prior to my being the luckiest SOB in the world and getting the Diamond Horseshoe show. But I was on the Jungle Cruise, and they said, Joe, we got a special guest today. You're going to get a special guest in your boat. Don't freak out. I go, okay, whatever. And believe it or not, it was freaking Muhammad Ali.
Really?
Yeah.
On the Jungle Cruise.
Yep.
Wow.
And I will tell you now, the single most gracious, lovely man I've ever met.
Oh, he was a wonderful man.
Truly a lovely man. Truly a lovely man. Johnny Kelly says hi, Harrison.
Johnny Kelly's there?
Yeah.
Really?
And he says, and this is a name. Oh dear, Dave McGee has other questions I'm going to get to in a minute. Johnny Kelly asks this right here. And this is a blast from the past. How many times did he perform with Brian Cale?
A lot.
Don't I know?
And I hate to speak ill of the dead. Brian passed away. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
Yes, he did. But I went over to Brian. We were friends. I went over to Brian's house, and he had the Tarbell course still shrink wrapped. Now, when I got the Tarbell course, I read those books cover to cover. I drank in everything.
How could you not?
But Brian was the kind of guy that showed me the trick, and if I can't do it now, he didn't want to work on anything.
Mm-hmm.
He was very well known in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And he rode on that, I don't want to say notoriety, that implies a negative.
No, he did. He was on
he did the Buffalo show.
AM Buffalo, right?
Yes.
Was that what it was called? Which was a runoff of Dialing for Dollars.
But he was on TV superb.
He was a celebrity, yes, in Buffalo.
And he was really good on TV.
God.
And he was an anchor. I mean, he read the news. He was very good. Yeah. But when he got on stage, I don't know if Bill Bradford's still here, if he would agree with me. He had nothing.
I'm going to tell you, Brian, forgive me, but I remember Brian Cale on stage at Thurston's, and if Bill is still here, I'm sure Bill remembers this distinctly. Brian got on stage. He was doing whatever it was he was doing. We were all very confused, but he told the old Mr. Softy joke. If you remember, where you stand up there and you kind of put your butt, you kind of squat down and kind of rotate your butt and say, "What is this?" And then he said it was Mr. Softy taking a, well, you know what.
Really?
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
The entire place was stunned.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I would think so, because that's not the persona that he puts out to the public.
No, exactly.
Put out to the
public. They were shocked.
But I used to what bothered me, I'd go to lunch with him, and you're trying to have a conversation. People would interrupt. Brian, I see you on TV. Old blue-haired ladies. I see you on TV.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I, invisible here? You're interrupting my conversation. And maybe that was a good learning experience, because then when I met people, I would not intrude upon their privacy. But it's very annoying to be with somebody who's well known, and you're not.
I have to tell you, it's very funny you would say that because I had that experience. I was at the Diamond Horseshoe Show for a few years at the Magic Kingdom here in Orlando. Very, very popular show. And when friends came in, every now and again, we would go to dinner, at the Grand Floridian or whatever, because let's face it, the old fat guy had a discount. So
you need one at that place. It's
okay.
Let's use that. So I would be sitting there at dinner, and I remember people coming up and going, "Oh my God, we saw you in the show. Could we have your autograph?" Whatever. And it was very foreign to me in the beginning of that because I was like, "Who the hell am I?"
Yeah.
But suddenly you're a celebrity, and this, believe it or not, would happen all over the place in Orlando quite often. And my friends got a little annoyed about it.
I could understand it,
and I can dig that. I can get that. But I have to say, Brian, in my memory of Brian, I have nothing but good memories of Brian, with the exception of that one thing. But even that's a good memory because we all freaking laughed afterwards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Brian put me on the show like 9 times.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful to him for that.
Very generous man with that sort of thing. And of course, he was a friend of Magic, and we cannot complain about that, can we?
No, we can't. I mean, is what he lacked as a Magic performer. He was very gracious.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Wonderful guy. Now, here's a question from David McGee, which is
Lord.
Okay, a show with Indian magicians.
I don't know what he's talking about there.
You lie like a rug.
No, I don't even know what he's talking about.
Well, that's yeah. Paul Richards says here, yeah, Brian really knew how to read a room. God bless you, Brian. Don't take anything the wrong way. What would Victor Tribuco be talking about when he says the words deep loads?
Oh yeah. Well,
Jack, we're magicians. It's okay. It's not weird.
Yeah, it's not weird. No, it's not a bad thing. Brian would do the chop cup or the nut under the hat or whatever, where you got to load.
Yep.
Right.
And he'd go all the way down to the floor to get his load. And he'd turn all the way around here. And we used to call him deep loads because he'd go pretty deep to get that load.
God, that's funny.
Yeah.
It's very funny. That happens to me. The chop cup happens to be my absolute favorite magic trick in the entire universe. Truly my favorite.
That paid the bills one of the things that paid the bills for me was the chop cup.
Hell yeah. I'm going to tell you, when I finished my set at the Forks with the chop cup, and then I put and I'm going to be honest, when I put that cup up on the table with the mouth up, that cup filled up, buddy. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a trick. And then in the dice stacking, which I learned from the late great, who I got to know again down here. I'm so freaking lucky to be down here. I get to know Beth Bergeron. I get to know some of the greats in this business who have retired down here. But I also got to know Jim Zachary. Remember Jim Zachary?
Sure, Zach Stacks.
Yeah, and I bought his book at Georgian Company downtown.
Wow.
Georgian Company. Bought his book and learned from that book, and then Zach comes to the Forks, watches my set, and goes, Jesus, you really get a lot out of that damn thing. What a freaking honor that was, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And then I got to know him down here, and I got a set of cups from him that I cherish to this day.
Wow, that's sweet.
How cool is that?
Yeah. And
I got to know, and again, getting to know a guy like Carl Weisinger. I keep coming back to Carl Weisinger. He was an eccentric old guy, wasn't he?
He was so old. Of course, we were young.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And I used to make jokes about how old he was. I would say, Carl, you must have performed for Millard Fillmore when he was mayor. Because he was so old to me.
That's Carl on the far, I guess, on the far left of your screen. Far left.
He doesn't look that old to me now.
No,
but he sure did then.
Thank you very much. What a great guy. Eccentric. And, I remember when the Forks was at one point, God love this guy. But, towards the end of the Forks Hotel days, when the Forks was kind of going through weirdness and Bob was selling and everything, Bob was in quite a panic, or Carl was in quite a panic because it's pretty much all he had.
It was all he had.
But what an amazing, again, one of those guys that you get to meet, and he's forgotten more than we'll ever know.
Well, and you know what? He was not a strong performer, but his sleight of hand was impeccable.
Exactly. Which, he was what do you call it? I don't want to say, I hate the word mechanic. I hate that word, but I guess it applies. Technician.
He really was.
Technician is better.
Yeah.
He was technically proficient. I mean, everything he did was flawless. He just didn't have that persona that he was going to take over the room. No, he was the quintessential nerd magician. Let's be very honest. And I mean that, Carl, I mean that the nicest way possible. Not unlike this fella right here. That's me when I was really young.
Yeah, but that's the guy next to you.
Oh, Vernon, yeah.
Ty Vernon.
That was in the 70s. Yeah,
and that obviously was when you were working at the castle, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Could you tell us just a little bit about working at the castle, Harry?
Yeah, first day I was nervous.
I don't blame you.
And then after the first couple shows, I go, man, this is a piece of cake. Where do you get audiences like this? They were so easy. And it's interesting because after I worked the castle, Whit Hayden used to say, man, when I was working trade shows, man, you ought to come back and work the castle. I go, I can't afford it. I have to take off of work. They don't pay. And then when I stopped working, somebody says, you should come out and work the castle again. I go, I can't afford it. I'm not so I couldn't afford it before when I was working.
Yeah, you can't win.
So, but it was that first time was wonderful. I met a lot of interesting people there. And you know what fooled the magicians that went there? Eddie's Peaks. Because they never heard of Peaks. So you're going, just look at one. You got one, the card stuff, but fooled the heck out of them back then.
Fooled the heck out of me when Eddie used to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got the book, and then Eddie shot. Jeez. But, Ray Mertz used to tell the most wonderful story. I remember when he came back from his time working at the castle, he said that, you go up to he said it was tough, learning a lot. He said, you go up to the bar and they say, hey, you want a drink? And he says, sure, I'll have a drink. And then you'll have another drink and another drink, another drink. And then Ray says, and they charge you for it.
Yeah, they do.
Unlike the Forks, where, you could spend your night.
They're giving you $50. I don't know what they pay now. When I worked there, it was like $200 a week.
Yeah.
You could drink $200 a week.
Have a drink in a night, right?
So, I don't know what they pay now. I think it's $1,500 or something, but it's not much.
And it would have been pretty much probably the same amount when Ray was there. It was
yeah.
So interesting, an interesting story, and I remember when we were at a convention. We went to the Tannen's convention, and Carl actually performed at Tannen's. And he ripped them up. Carl Norman. He ripped them up, and Carl's stuff was, go.
Yeah, no.
And I'm still like that to this day. If I see the opportunity, I go, but Carl did his shtick, and, Larson, Bill Larson walks up to him, and, Carl, I don't know whether Carl never thought much of himself or what the deal was, but I was there to witness this, and Bill Larson says, God, you should come and work the castle. And Carl says, excuse my language, folks, but this was Carl Norman talk. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, that's Carl.
That's Carl. And because Carl honestly didn't believe he had anything. I mean, but damn it, this guy was entertaining. And that's what Larson told him. He said, you got more than most of the guys that ever considered working there have.
Well, yeah, a lot of guys that I've seen because when I was working, I would take clients, and a lot of guys I saw there really weren't at the level that you would expect. And I did see a lot of great performers there, don't get me wrong, but they're not all great that worked there, at least when I was going.
I tell you what, just a couple of years ago on my 50th birthday. We went to Disneyland, and I went up to the castle to see the show there. And I got to tell you, I saw better stuff in my years at the Forks than I ever saw at the castle. Let me tell you.
Well, again, going back to the beginning, a lot of really celebrated magicians came out of that place.
You ain't kidding.
So they were pretty good, most of the magicians there.
And I'm gonna go so far as to include Thurston's in that
Absolutely.
category.
Absolutely.
It was wonderful to be in the castle. I got to meet what's his name, Doogie Howser.
Oh yeah,
Neil Patrick Harris.
I got to meet Neil Patrick Harris, which is a great story for another time. But it was a great being there. It was really exciting to be there. Because of someplace I'd never gone and had never had the thought of going, and realized that, as I sat there, I thought to myself, I could have held my own on this. I could have done this. And that would have been pretty freaking cool. I would not try it now. I really wouldn't.
Well, it's expensive to go out just to say you work the castle. Of course, now it's COVID, but it's expensive, to fly out there, stay, eat, you just got to do it because for some reason you want to do it. Like when I was young, I wanted, wow.
And I'll tell you what, I want to, we're almost at that point, but Johnny Kelly just said something that really intrigues me. And what Johnny Kelly said was this: Cuda bucks.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if we got enough time to go into that story, but that would have been a good story to tell you from the castle.
Awesome.
If we had time.
Awesome.
But, I got to tell you one thing before we go.
Yes.
Because we talk about this process of learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Bill Larson, I was good friends with Frank Garcia. And Bill Larson said to Frank, what's it going to take to get you out to the castle? And Frank said, well, this is my fee. And Bill Larson said, Frank, we can't pay that. And Frank said, well, then I'll do it for free as a favor.
Wait.
But I'm not compromising my fee. So I thought about that, and I thought, people want to beat you up on money.
Mm-hmm.
You got to weigh the circumstances, of course. Yeah. But now he's putting Bill Larson in, I'll do it for free. Now you owe me. Right. He didn't say that, but the implication is there.
He certainly is. And coming from Garcia, that's something.
And now Bill Larson is, well, no, we're not going to have you work for free, and we can't pay your. So Frank never worked the castle. But, boy, I learned something from that. Because when it comes to your fee, you got to be careful when you compromise it.
Indeed.
How you compromise it.
Yes. Yeah, you can compromise it if they give something away.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what I've discovered, the only time I will compromise, if it's something I really feel like doing. And Jack can attest to that.
Or if it's a really, really, really good cause.
Yeah, she's seen me do that. And I'm sure you're the same way here.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you are.
I mean, I've had clients that I had for years. And I'll work with you any way I can. Like we got this little show. We've never done it before. We don't have a lot of budget. Like I'll give you an example. GBC, General Binding Company. I think I gave the binding machine to Mike, which now it's probably outdated because they got fancier ones. But he goes, we just don't have the budget. So I charged them my rate anyway, but I raised my rate and took the binding machine and all the folders, and the spiral bindings.
I wonder what a magician could do with that.
The show was in Toronto, so I threw it all in my car and drove it over the bridge. And I just raised your rate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Harrison, Wow.
Jack,
I
it was
cannot-
wonderful to meet you.
I've been fascinated. I've been fascinated. Do we have like just 2 seconds? Because I
Ask Joe.
really want to ask this.
Go for it.
What, Harrison, what do you think? And I know it's a whole different thing because it's television and all that. What do you think of some of the new magicians that are out there?
I don't know what they're doing. They just kill me. They're incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't ask me what they're doing because they're fooling me all the time.
Penn and Teller fool us.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean,
It's
some of
amazing,
these
isn't it?
guys,
And you know,
I don't know what they're doing. Did you see that quick change girl?
Yes.
oh my God, was she
Yeah.
great?
Holy smokes.
That just blew me away. It's crazy. And
I don't know.
Always love magic. So
But you have to admit, Harrison, by the same token, once in a while you'll be watching the world's greatest magic, and when you say the words, I don't know what they're doing, it means something completely different. Am I correct?
Yes, you are. You
Thank
are
you.
correct. It does.
Thank you. Because it does scare me. Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison,
Paul,
thank you so much for being
hey guys,
Awesome,
thanks for
Harrison.
stopping by out there. Joe, it was wonderful to talk to you after all these years.
freaking awesome. You have no idea how wonderful this is. I'd love to have you back sometime if you feel like it.
Absolutely.
It
Sure.
would be awesome.
And next time I get down there, I'll look you up. We'll get together with Bradford and we'll do lunch or something.
Wouldn't that be great? Thanks. Thank you so much. Thanks, Harrison. Take care.
You're
of
more than
yourself,
welcome.
okay?
I enjoyed it.
Take care
Bye,
of yourself.
Jack.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Harrison. It was
Okay.
fascinating. I loved it.
Jack, that was what a joy that was.
That was amazing.
Truly, wow. I'm a little choked up because it was pretty cool to have. You got to understand, and I didn't tell him this, but I'm going to say it now. This was one of my heroes.
I
Okay.
knew that. I knew that when you
So-
first told me about it. I knew this was one of your heroes.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And to see the names that are
Yeah.
on my chat list, I'm a little verklempt.
A little verklempt.
But I do want to tell you,
Yeah.
Jack, that next week we've got, believe it or not,
Mhm.
we're doing the classic we're doing the classic drag performers next week.
Ooh,
Two
cool.
wonderful people,
Mhm.
one from Australia, one from here in Orlando,
Oh, that's right. You did mention Australia. Yes.
which is pretty cool. Now, don't freak out, guys. These are just people who do performers. These are performers. That's what we're about, okay? And we are about every kind of performing there is. But the
Entertainment industry.
following week, let me tell you, the following week
Mhm.
on October, let me just make sure that I'm not lying here. I got to make sure because this is so very important. October 1st, I believe it is.
Okay.
Which I'm fairly sure yes, ladies and gentlemen, on October 1st, I just got the confirmation today. We are going to have, folks, you're not going to believe it. We're going to have the one and only, after having the one and only, quite frankly, Mr. Harrison Carroll, we're going to have the one and only Mr. Bev Bergeron.
Oh, wow.
Now, for those of you who don't know who that is, that's him there in the clown makeup. That
Yep.
is Mark Wilson next to him. Bev was Rebo the Clown.
Mhm.
On the there's Bev in very recently, quite frankly. You see that smile? It just hasn't changed in all those years, has it?
This is really funny because
No.
my first husband absolutely loved Mark Wilson, was a clown, loved clowns, and this was one of his heroes.
Yeah, Bev is
Bergeron.
an amazing man, and we're going to have Bev Bergeron in 2
Wow.
weeks, October 1st, folks. And
Mhm.
for those of you who are in the magic scene, you'll want to see Bev Bergeron, okay?
Yep.
Seriously. He's going to, you know what? And here's the thing. I know stuff about Bev that y'all don't know. So I'll be able to give you a little more. I'll be able to ask questions that you might not have.
And I think David McGee needs to be your co-host. That
Who's that?
I think David needs to be your co-host, Mr. McGee.
I may have the guts, maybe. And I'm going to be honest with you. I know this is not your forte tonight, Jack.
Mhm.
But just seeing you there helped me a lot. You have no idea.
Yes, I do. You'll pay me later.
You are the love of my life as far as a co-star goes.
I know.
And You know, folks, I got to tell you, she's a doll. If you ever get to work with this lady, woo-hoo, you are lucky people. And so here's the thing. Bev Bergeron coming up, and I may have the guts to go on with Bev alone. Maybe.
That would be amazing.
We shall see, but I don't know yet. And if anybody's out there who'd like to be a co-host with Bev Bergeron, you let me know. Otherwise, it's gonna be her. I got to make sure I'm pointing in the right direction. October 1st, and we've got so much great stuff coming up. But next week we've got a couple of drag performers, which is, RuPaul's Drag Race is so popular, right, Jack?
It is, yes. And it's very big. It's actually very big here in Orlando. So
yeah, I felt
we've got some amazing people in Orlando too.
Who we've got? I'll tell you who we've got. Matthew Arter. I don't know if you know Matthew.
I do know of Matthew. I don't know him, but I do know of him.
And we've got a gentleman named Matt Barry Backhouse.
Really?
In David McGee actually says you did awesome, Jack.
Oh, thanks, David.
We've got Matt Barry Backhouse from Australia, who was actually with me in Osaka playing the Wand Keeper. I've had a little bit of vodka tonight, so I've forgotten.
I noticed.
Awesome.
I noticed.
But Jack, I can't tell you how much I love you. We've still got 15 people watching us just shooting the shit. Jack, thank you again for being with me tonight. As always, you are amazing.
Back at you, boy.
Anybody ever tells you different, you send them to me. You got me?
Back at you.
Okay. Thanks, Jack. Be good. Take care. I love you.
Love you. Bye.
Okay. It's just me now. And ladies and gentlemen, all of you out there, hey, Craig, thank you very much. I like my jacket too. Bought this at Macy's, and it's only a 44. Yeah, I've taken off some weight. I'm over the moon about that. Folks, here's the deal. Next week, a couple of drag performers, Matthew Arter, Matt Barry Backhouse. God, how can I forget? Matt Barry Backhouse from Australia is going to be on. And forgive me, I don't know their names on their shows. But please join us next week, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the Joe Zimmer Show. And then, folks, you magicians out there, you know who Bev Bergeron is. And I am so excited to be able to talk for an hour with Bev Bergeron. I'm not going to get a lot of talking in, but you know what I'm saying. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Don't forget, tomorrow, Orlando. Tomorrow is Feed the Need down there at what do you call it? At Plaza Live. We're going to be down there at Feed the Need. Artists helping artists. Come down, say hi. We need you to be there. We want you to be there. Get yourself some lunch. Get yourself some produce. See the fantastic performers and say hi, because we're going to clap for you. We're going to give you some applause while you're there, okay? And there's no judgments, no nothing. Whether you need it or not, just come down and say hi. I would love to see you, and I know everybody there would love to see you. Last and certainly not least, when you're out there, look for the helpers. They're out there. They're helping. When you find them, you join them, because there ain't no better feeling in the world. Good night, folks, and may your God go with you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye, everybody.